First major risk I took getting going, building out an online career, online business, was really shifting gears from providing services to going solo on a website, like one website, all in. And so, I mean, I don't want to say it was a thriving or growing local services business online, but I was providing some marketing services and it was consistent. And one nice thing I always appreciated about doing services is you get paid fairly quick. And when you don't do affiliate marketing or other types of online revenue models, it could take quite a while to build things up and get paid. So I had to make a decision at some point whether I wanted to go all in on a content site and be basically a digital publisher or carry on and build out the agency. I'd do one or the other. I didn't want to keep doing both. The agency earned quite a bit more. But I ultimately decided, because really my online dream was to be more of a content publisher than service provider. So I took the leap. I wound down the small agency. I call it an agency. I mean, it was just me basically. It wasn't much. And I went all in on content sites, and that was a significant risk. It put a big dent in temporary cash flow, but it ultimately paid off. So I'm glad I took that risk. Number two was a few years after that. Well, it was rocky road, just like it's always rocky road in this business. All right. We just had a couple of years, not even 2 years ago, a major Google update that decimated the industry. But back in 2012, it had something similar. It was both Google. Being Google, a big update, really knocked my sites back that I had spent considerable amount of time building out. And that was after I had bailed on the agency, of course, right? That's how things go. Anyway, I had to basically start over. I wanted to focus on one site and build it into a big site in something that I enjoyed reading about, writing about, and so forth. And I did some research and I found a topic, a niche that I thought would be really great. And the trouble is, in my experience up to that point, it was completely unproven. I had no idea how it was going to monetize. I naively assumed it would be affiliate revenue because that's pretty much all I did up to that point was affiliate revenue. That's all I knew. I stuck within niches I knew would work with affiliate. Anyways, I thought this niche would work gangbusters with affiliate. And I built it out, put money into it, put a ton of time into it, and months in, getting decent traffic, no affiliate revenue, like zero, not a dime. And that was quite disappointed by that because I didn't really know what I was going to do. It was a site I really want to make. Everything about it I really liked. The content was good. People liked it. It was very popular on Facebook. The SEO hadn't really kicked in, but the social was working really great. And I just didn't know what to do. I know I've told the story a million times, but I just on a whim threw an AdSense ad on there, a couple of units. Back then we were capped at 3 per page, which is like preposterous if we compare it to the ads we're putting on now. Anyway, I put on 3 AdSense ad units. I had an account. Fortunately, amazingly, I never used it. I put the ads on and bam, it made quite a bit of money overnight because I did have traffic. I had good traffic and I had lots of stuff that was getting lots of traction on Facebook. And so it generated well over $100 and I just couldn't believe it. So that was the moment when I became display ad focused and really left behind affiliate marketing for the most part. And I knew this site, no matter what I did, it really was going to be a display ad model and not so much the affiliate. It's just the nature of the niche, and it was the type of content that I really wanted to publish was the reason I got into it. It was not buyer intent, it was more just inspirational and informational, and that's what I focus on. So I took a sizable risk diving into this because I spent quite a bit of time building a lot of posts because I had no traffic. I had no idea. I just assumed once I got traffic, the affiliate links would be kicking out lots of profits. I was dead wrong, but fortunately I found a solution. Risk number 3 that paid off was starting that site without SEO. Up until then, and I launched that site in 2014. Up until then, I was doing this full-time for a couple of years. Really, all I did was SEO. That was it. That's all I knew, except I got wiped out. Well, not completely wiped out, but I definitely sustained some damage from the previous Google update. And I, said to myself, I don't want that to happen again. I need to build something that can thrive without Google traffic. And so that's what I set out to do. I really really, basically back then, Facebook was the best player in town. Actually, still is in a lot of ways when it comes to that, but I focused on Facebook. And back then, Facebook was great. And it was my first introduction to it. I didn't really know Facebook that much, but I did read a lot about it because I was getting going and it was working really fast. Not a lot of followers, but it worked. So long story short, I didn't even bother with SEO. Facebook managed to get me traffic fairly quickly, and then it grew from there. To make a long story longer, ultimately the SEO kicked in, and of course, despite my reluctance to not ever get dependent on SEO ever again after taking a massive hit, I of course fell in love with all that SEO traffic, which eventually was more than what I was getting from social media, and so I did ultimately shift back to an SEO focus. But the site really started, grew, and thrived for a number of years without SEO. And that was a big gamble because SEO was all I knew. Number 4, I decided I had a game plan for this site that worked really well, but I didn't know it was going to work. The affiliate game plan was a total bust. That was a failure, but fortunately I was able to solve the monetization problem. But in terms of a content plan, my plan was this, and that was to basically curate a lot of content, partner with content providers, and enter into various deals to be able to publish certain content. And a lot of it, I would make it my own and put my own spin on it. Others, I would publish more of a syndication model. I did it all. It was a big variety. And I still do it all to this day. It's a model I've always liked. But to get that ball rolling was fairly expensive, and it took a lot of time. And I knew it would because my site was brand new. I had really no credibility. I was reaching out to people who probably got pitched all the time. And so I was getting lots and lots of no's. But once in a while, and I was paying people to do this, so it wasn't like I was doing it all. I was paying, so I was out of pocket, didn't have a lot of revenue coming in, but I knew this was the approach that I really wanted to do because I knew it would work. I was confident it was work. There were other sites that were doing similar, except they were well established, and so it was probably a lot easier for them at that point. But I plowed ahead and put in a couple of months, and I started getting a couple of yeses. And that was huge. And ultimately, another long story short, as the site became successful, I was getting way more yeses than nos because, well, people want to contribute, partner, and syndicate with a site that's doing well than a site that is basically have no traffic or eyeballs at all. So I did hang in there. It took several months to pursue this model, and I didn't really know that it would generate all the traffic that I was hoping for, but it did. It was the ultimate model that I really wanted to do when I started this site, and it paid off. And I still follow a lot of that outreach to this day. I always had maintained other traffic sources than SEO over the years, social and so forth, and that was a big part of it. And to this day, it still works, and I'm sure glad I did it, but I had to take somewhat of a risk getting started there. Number 5, after the HCU update from Google wiped out about 95% of my search traffic, and I'm not the only one, lots of people. So I do get search traffic amazingly, but anyways, not enough to really do anything for it. And no matter what I do, it doesn't grow. I had to make a content decision. I had to figure out something content that would work. And in order to work in a post SEO world, is I had to completely shift the type of content, the topics I was doing. And that was huge. And it was a 2-step process, and it was a lot of work. The first step was figuring out what would work, and it was a lot of testing, and I had no idea. Always keeping in mind the content needed to generate pretty good RPMs. Yeah, there's certain topics I knew about and I could do, and I had done in the past, but the RPMs were horrible within the niche, and typically my niche it pays quite well. But of course, there are always certain topics in any niche where they're just not going to pay, and I knew about those, but I didn't really want to go that direction. I wanted to stick with higher RPM topics. So I had to figure out what would work in a post-HCU world, in a world where there was no search traffic for me and I couldn't go for it. So what did I do? I had to figure out content that would actually get eyeballs on my site with, focusing on the keyword research and intent and all that. I had to come up with topics that people would see and click and want to visit the site. I took a lot of testing, but I definitely had lots of topics not work. All right. I don't want to make this sound like, everything I tried worked. No, I discarded a lot of articles and concepts over the last, I guess we're approaching a year and a half at this point to pave the way to find topics that would work. And I did find some that worked. But once I found some that worked, I did a lot of them. I continue to do them. And that's my MO. So making the decision to shift, like major shift, it's still within the vertical. It's not like I changed niches or anything like that or changed industry or vertical at all. I had to basically take the chance that something would work because I knew search was not going to work. I knew at a certain point, I don't know exactly, but it's probably 3 or 4 months after HCU, I put in an effort to recover. But I mean, part of me was like, over the years with updates, there were updates I'd lose 20% of traffic. There were updates I gained some traffic. I never had like major swings up or down through updates. All the growth was kind of a slow grow over the number of years. The 95% loss of traffic from HCU was considerable. Like that was like massive. I'd never seen it before. So I knew this one was different. I just had this hunch. But it was worth putting in, some money and time to see if I could reverse it. But, soon as I saw reports, various social media and emails from people and in forums, basically everybody got smoked, and no matter what people were trying to do, how much money they threw at recoveries were not happening. So that to me quickly was writing on the wall. The long tail search engine model was toast, was over. I had to figure something out, and that required a major topic change on my site, and it worked out. Last, number 6, risk that paid off was going in on one site. All right, now I mentioned way back when I wound down an agency to go all in on content sites, and ultimately in 2014 when I launched what is still my number one site, basically my business, I went all in then. Over the years, I did add more sites. I actually built out sites, sold sites, did the whole gamut thing of content sites because I had pretty good systems in place. But ultimately after HCU, once the game changed, and it changed dramatically and required a lot more hands-on to keep things rolling, I decided, I'd rather try to do a really good job on one site rather than juggle 2, 3, 4 sites. Because I got a bunch of sites still just sort of sitting in the wings I could do stuff with. But I had to make a decision to just basically ignore those, and who knows what I'll do with them down the road. But for now, I'm winning all in on one site. And that has paid off. That was a smart decision. I still have a lot of work to do. There's still so much more I could do with the site to make it much better, but I'm only able to do that by focusing on it. I just do not have the bandwidth to try to grow more than one site at this time. But it was a gamble, and going all in is a gamble. A lot of people, you ask, how do you manage, 3, 4 sites? My hat off to them because it's amazing. And, really they're doing it as a way to diversify largely or expand revenue, but it's really both. But diversifying and risk management is a big part of it. And I don't have that. So it's an ongoing risk, in fact, that I'm taking by focusing all in on one site. But it is all I can handle. And after assessment, I believe I'm better off focusing on one. I have a better chance for it to become bigger and better over the years than try to juggle and kick along multiple sites. Thanks for watching.